What should we do? We can't practice at all. We frowned. It happened when I participated in a ballet competition as a junior high school student. Although there was only one rehearsal room for all the competitors, a group of contestants from other Asian countries occupied a huge area of the room, so we Japanese contestants couldn't practice. I was very surprised and disappointed with their manners, and I couldn't imagine any Japanese doing that. Today, more and more foreign people are coming to Japan. Every year, a huge number of Asian travelers come to Fukuoka, my hometown, by big cruise ships. I also see many foreigners working at the convenience stores and a gas station in my neighborhood. We can often see people from China, Korea, Thailand, Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, India, and various other Asian countries. Even though I understood that we have to accept a variety of people from around the world in this multicultural age, I was still a little bit uncomfortable. To be honest, I felt that Japan could become less safe if the foreign population increased. However, working with Asian children changed me. I had a chance to help Asian children study in Kyushu as volunteer work. I taught Japanese to Chinese and Indian children. They were gentle and nice children, but I had difficulty dealing with a naughty Chinese boy. The boy could not sit still, moved around the room, and even hit me on the head many times while I was teaching him. Instead of scolding him, I ignored his mischief and made an angry expression. However, he didn't seem to realize that what he was doing was wrong. I was not good at scolding children, but finally I told him that if he didn't sit still and study seriously, he wouldn't get better and he would have a hard time fitting in at the Japanese school. As I explained, he looked at my face carefully. After that, he began to study seriously. I noticed the difference between our cultures. In Japan, people often express their feelings through facial expressions. However, it is often difficult for foreign people to understand our feelings only by looking at these expressions. I thought about my actions from his point of view. I should have spoken my feelings directly from the beginning. After that, I started to speak to the students clearly and directly. They immediately became attached to me and started to listen to me earnestly. I began to think that they were adorable, honest, and clever children. To my surprise, they have totally changed my impression of Asian people. Looking back, I started to wonder what my ballet rehearsal experience really was. In Japan, it is rude to express our discomfort directly. But in the other Asian countries, it might be rude and even childish to complain behind someone's back instead of speaking to them directly. In that rehearsal room, we were both acting according to what is right and polite in our own cultures. If we could have spoken directly, we might have been able to understand each other. If we learn to communicate better, we will realize that we have much in common and share many values. Our government is now trying to deal with Japan's labor shortage by increasing the number of foreign laborers. I feel that our country is becoming more multicultural. Just as my life became more colorful by working with Asian children, the lives of all Japanese people can become more interesting and stimulating by accepting diversity. I hope that everyone will work hard to understand each other and create a community where everyone can enjoy their lives. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Have you ever heard about the differences between British English and American English? The title of this speech is one example. People in the United Kingdom say lift, while Americans say elevator. By the way, you may also hear, I will give you a lift, which means that someone will take you somewhere by car. It does not mean that someone will give you an elevator for a present. Now, I would like to talk about more of the differences between British English and American English. My first topic will be about the origin of American English. Until the 18th century, British English was spoken in America. In 1779, an American educationist, Noah Webster, started to write an American dictionary of the English language. Webster expected American English to become the main language in the United States, and soon enough, it was. The second topic is about other variations of English. Last year, I joined a homestay program in Perth, the capital of Western Australia. I still do video calls with my host family every week, so I've become able to speak some Australian English. As for the differences between British, American, and Australian English, I can give you an example. Never better, which means brilliant, is pronounced differently depending on the country. In the United States, never better, never better. In the United Kingdom, never better, never better. And in Australia, never better, never better. You might notice that American people clearly roll their R's, and people in the United Kingdom pronounce R, and Australian people pronounce ah. We can see one more difference in the pronunciation of the letter T. In the United States, better, better. In the United Kingdom, better, better. And in Australia, better, better. Fortunately, thanks to the internet, we can have conversations with different people around the world, even from our comfort of our living rooms, making it easy to understand these differences. English has become a global language. 1.5 billion people use English around the world, which not only shows the importance of English, but also the incredible diversity of English. Due to these many differences in the way English is spoken, I believe that the most essential thing is to try and communicate proactively, even if it is wrong grammatically. As I learned during my homestay experience in Australia, we can learn many new and interesting cultural differences by using English. So I recommend for everyone to try and do something as adventurous as studying abroad. Finally, there are two things to increase our global sense. Let's take advantage of opportunities to communicate with people all over the world. We can use our classrooms, video calls, and the internet. Let's study abroad and join homestay program. We can experience invaluable things while we are learning about the world. Let me finish my speech with a promise. I promise that I will do my best to lift up my English skills to a higher level. Thank you for listening to my elevator speech.
Do you know this movie? I think most people do. It is the famous Disney movie, Aladdin. These are the lyrics of song Speechless, which was used during the movie. In this song, Jasmine expresses her mind against gender gap. What do you think about the present society? Some people still think that women are in a weak position in society. I sent out a questionnaire to first-year students in my high school. Look at the screen. I asked the question, do you think women can succeed in the present society? About 65% thought women couldn't succeed in this society, even though they have never worked the concept that women can't succeed in the present society is instilled into them. If more women have such a concept, they won't be able to trust the society in which they live. This will lead to labor shortages. In 2015, the Japanese government established a law. Its name is Act on Promotion of Women's Participation and Advancement in the Workplace. It proposes that women who want to work after childbirth can continue their work and will receive support to help advance their careers. In spite of this law, it was discovered that some medical universities tampered with female applicants' entrance exam scores last year. The universities judged whether they would be able to become doctors by gender. Do you still think that gender discrimination was eliminated by this law when you hear this? This news and results of my questionnaire cast doubt on the effectiveness of the law. Next, why has Japan become a place where it is hard for women to succeed? The reason is related to historical background. Until World War II ended, gender division of labor was common. This means men work and women stay home to do housework and raise children. Now, there are more women working in society, and the provision for maternity leave has improved. However, the idea of gender division is still with us. It is difficult for men to use the system of paternity leave. Even if women take time off to look after their newborn child, it can be difficult for them to return to their former position at their workplace. In the worst case, they can be forced or pressured to quit by their company. How can we get rid of this kind of thinking? I think Japan should do two things. First, introduce a system similar to other countries. Iceland, for example, used to have a gender division of labor like Japan. But 40 years ago, about 90% of women in the population went on a strike for the purpose of gender equality. As a result, the government began a system giving 80% of the salary during child care leave. In this country, they have a high consumption tax, but they achieved a society where men and women live happily. I think the Japanese government should look at this system. But nothing will happen just by waiting for the government support. So we have to do something ourselves. This is my second opinion. My school is a girls' school. Its educational philosophy is to help women reach their full potential and make a positive contribution to society. I take classes on world issues and examine ways to assert ideas. I believe that we can acquire the ability to articulate our concerns on gender issues and make positive change. From my questionnaire, I found that some students share my opinion. Jasmine is showing us how we should be. Don't give up just because we are women, like Jasmine. We should endeavor to be like Jasmine. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Levitan and I'm from Fukuoka Daiichi High School. Today, it's my great honor to be here to present to all of you my ideas. First of all, there are 2 points that I wish to make clear to all of you. Number 1, my mother tongue is not English, and I have never been to any countries which are native in English. Number 2, unfortunately, I'm not a genius. I'm just a normal student, like all of you, and sometimes I even sleep during classes. However, I have received this question from many Japanese students and people interested in studying English. Your English is really good. How do you learn to speak English so well? So, today, I'm here not to boast about myself, but to share some humble tips that I'm using in my daily life in order to learn how to speak English in the most natural way. The first method is find your own reasons for studying English. We study English for many different purposes. However, lots of Japanese students say the reason they started studying English is because their parents and their teachers told them to do so. That was the case for me too. I used to hate my parents so much because they pushed me to study English when I was a junior high school. But after I found my own personal reasons, my English ability grew very fast because I had a strong desire to be good at it. Through my case, I would say that you all have to clearly set your own goals of studying English, then find your inspiration and passion in studying English. The next tip is imitation. After hearing and noticing lots of Japanese students who are struggling with speaking English, I realized the first common mistake that every Japanese students make when they try to speak English is that they care too much about using formal grammar and difficult vocabulary. Sometimes it may backfire because the sentences they speak sound really strange and unnatural. I practice my English speaking skill through TED Talks, YouTube, and the Ellen Show most of the time. I'm sorry. And the reason why I chose to practice my English speaking skill through TED Talks, YouTube, and the Ellen Show was because it's fun and I know that I will never get bored. I watch everything in English with English subtitles, and then I try to imitate the way native people speak. I imitate everything, from the pronunciation to the tone of their voices. I watch one video several times and just keep imitating them until I can listen to what is said without subtitles. Through this method, we will not only be able to learn how to use the right grammar in the right situations, but it will also help you to improve your listening skill. The last method is speak out. Another common mistake that English studying students always make when they try to speak English is that they are afraid of being judged or making mistakes. Are very afraid of being judged or making mistakes. They worry about that what if their English ability is not good enough that will frustrate the native speaker they are talking to. But the truth is, nobody cares about that. The most important point of this method is that you have to try to think in English, then put all the ideas in your mind and try and throw away all the arguments and try to speak English as much as possible. So these simple methods I have introduced to you might not sound serious at all, but they actually have worked very well for me. Your brain can absorb English unconsciously and naturally through these methods. And I hope through my speech, some of you will find new inspiration in developing your English speaking ability. And I hope one day, when you don't notice, you will realize that you can speak English smoothly and fluently without translating from Japanese to English in your mind. You can't master language in a short time. Language studying requires you to give a lot of effort and patience. However, we can make the process so much easier just by changing the way we approach it. And remember, I am just a normal student, so if I can do it, you can do it too. Thank you for listening.
Have you ever been spoken to by foreigners in town? A year before the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympics, I watched a TV program in which a Paralympic player from Germany talked about her impression of Japan. She said it was difficult to communicate with Japanese people in many public places. I hope more Japanese people try to communicate with us. Her words pushed me to think about how we should handle this issue. Do we lack the effort to learn English? No, I don't think so. We start learning English from elementary school and often study fairly complex grammar and vocabulary. Then, why are we not more comfortable speaking it? There must be reasons other than our English ability. I spent a few years in the US and went to a local elementary school. At this school, I was spoken to in many different situations. For example, when I sneezed, my friend would always say, "Bless you." I didn't know what they said at first, but I came to find that it was a caring expression in the US That means take care. This type of communication is not common with Japanese people. Although Japanese care about others, they sometimes won't say so clearly. Besides, in Japan, we greet others by saying, "Konnichiwa," and then respond with, "Konnichiwa." It's like a one-way greeting. But in the US, many people ask, "How are you?" and are then given an honest response such as, "I'm pretty good, but a little hungry," and so on. In other words, it's like a round-trip greeting that will naturally connect to a different conversation smoothly. It is easier to form new relationships this way. I think this kind of greeting must be based on a positive attitude of wanting to involve others and get to know each other. I think this kind of greeting, this is a good opportunity for Japanese to introduce our unique culture and traditions to foreigners. We also have unique sensibilities compared to other countries. For example, before we eat, we say, "Itadakimasu." And after we finish, we say, "Gochisou-sama deshita," to thank the lives of plants and animals. I couldn't find these words in the US. Japanese omotenashi, or hospitality, is made from our deep consideration and respect for others' feelings. I believe Japanese have valuable knowledge and experiences to share with foreigners. But I think that Japanese people need to be more positive and willing to communicate and express their feelings with others. If Japanese don't engage in positive communication, we won't be able to show what's special about our culture. So, I like to say, to make the Olympics and Paralympics successful, the important thing should be positive interactions. But we don't have to accomplish big things right away. We can start interaction with small things. For example, when they are trying to take a group photo of themselves, we can say, "Do you want me to take a photo?" And also, when they try buying tickets, we can give some assistance before they ask. Next year, many people from around the world will be coming to Japan. It is a chance for Japan to appeal to the world. Let's offer our special omotenashi to foreigners and have lots of positive interactions. Thank you.
There are many problems to solve in the world. How can we make the world more equal, more comfortable to live in so that we can live a life of wealth? We should think about these problems seriously. From now on, I'll talk about my valuable experience in Thailand. What image do you have of Thailand? Thailand is in Southeast Asia and has a very wide gap between rich and poor. I saw a person asking for money in the street. I said to my mother, "Mom, let's give him some money." But my mother said to me, "There are many people like this, so it is unfair to give money to only him." As my mother said, I saw there were many people in the street that wanted money. I clearly remember feeling that I had never experienced such sorrow. I wondered if giving money to beggars or handicapped poor people is really helping or just a temporary solution. On that trip, I visited the capital city Bangkok, which made me feel Thailand must be wealthy and developed like Japan. However, the scenery on the road made me wonder if Thailand was really wealthy or not. How can this contradiction exist in the same country? Immediately, I decided that I wanted to understand more about Thailand. As you may know, Thailand is a post-British country, and this created two ways of thinking about their current circumstance. Some think that healthy people have to help handicapped people by showing mercy. Others think that it is inevitable for the handicapped poor to be as they are, because they did bad things that did not practice charity sufficiently in their previous life. When I saw the beggars, not many Thais gave their money to them. My mother said to me that it is easy to give them money, but it is difficult to permanently solve problems such as poverty and social gaps. I think she is correct. But what can we do for them? Supporting them together would be very powerful, since my power alone is very limited. Many people's actions could change the situation. I would be the first. My acquaintances would be the next. And then, each person after would convey to others the importance of solving the problem of poverty. This kind of continuous movement would increase the number of supporters, so the number of those suffering in poverty around the world would gradually decrease. We now live in an environment full of cheap goods and a lot of food. But please do not forget, there are many children who cannot go to school, and so many people who cannot drink even a glass of water due to poverty. There are many things we can do. We can donate our money to the poor through UNICEF monthly support program and help them get out of poverty. In Japan, people help poor children through a volunteer activity called Child Dinner. This allows children to have dinner together with the supporters, hoping to end the loneliness of eating alone. My town has just started this kind of dinner. I would like to visit it and help them out. By doing so, I believe these problems will be solved one day, and the world will have peace and equality. Everyone, please take notice of the problem of poverty. Take your own small step to lead to a big change. Thank you.
Refugees. What comes to your mind when you first hear this word? A serious global crisis. A miserable group of people. Thank goodness it's not me. Or people who are seeking peace. These are all what came to my mind when I first read the article on refugee crisis in Syria. I still clearly remember that the article showed a picture of people on a boat that was heading towards Europe. It was indeed shocking. I couldn't believe that so many people were abandoning their hometown and risking their lives to go on an endless journey. Countless people go through such tough experiences and feel hopeless and insecure every day. Their tough luck, however, did not end there. Approximately 130,000 Syrians were forced to return to their homeland even though they successfully made their way to Europe. 4,000 refugees die every year, and millions of them experience discrimination. I moved to Switzerland when I was 11 years old and got involved with refugees early on. Refugees from the Middle East often escape to Europe. Switzerland, like the other countries in the European Union, accepts refugees and has many refugee organizations. There was one organization based near my school, and so I somehow felt close to refugees. Though my move was a happy and safe one, refugees and I shared the similarity of living in a new country with new language and with completely different culture. One day, the refugee organization distributed the poster to all students in my school, and through it, I learned that refugee camps in the Middle East were running out of clothing. Because I felt close to refugees and knew how lucky I was in comparison, I decided to get involved. I organized a clothing drive in my school and made a speech about refugees to increase students' awareness of refugee crisis. I was able to collect 4 boxes full of clothing and donated them to refugee camps. I was filled with happiness and a sense of accomplishment, and I have found a sort of calling. One day, I also had a wonderful opportunity to talk with refugees, with people who were refugees and were able to settle in Switzerland. After talking with them for a short period of time, my impression towards refugees completely changed. When I asked about their dream jobs and what they wanted to do in the future, with the big smiles on their faces, they told me about their dreams with great enthusiasm. I realized how wrong my beliefs had been. In order to accomplish their dreams, they strove to forget about their past and to move forward instead. As soon as I started hearing their stories, I realized that these are the people who have been dealt a bad hand of cards in the game of life. It didn't seem right that I could work towards mine while they have almost no chances of following their dreams. Finally, I would like to end my speech with a quote from a refugee boy that I met. After everything I've been through, the feeling of despair can't hurt me. I will work hard to become a football player and bring hope to my country. His determination to chase his dream, no matter what difficulties will arise in front of him, really touched me. And through my rewarding experience of supporting refugees in Switzerland, I have naturally decided to continue supporting refugees in Japan. The current refugee crisis seems very remote to the Japanese, while Japan is very geographically distant from Middle East and Europe. But I hope that my small steps in my work will contribute to increasing our awareness towards refugees, and that many of us will help refugees pursue their dreams. Thank you very much.
On 9/26, on April 14th, 2016, an earthquake with a seismic intensity of 7 on the Japanese scale struck Kumamoto Prefecture. At that time, my classmate and I were staying at the Moji Youth Outdoor Learning Center in Kitakyushu. We had gone on a 3-day school trip to get to know our fellow first-year students. After hearing a loud noise, we felt a strong shaking. Most of us had never experienced an earthquake before, and we were panicking, screaming, and hugging each other, even though we had only known one another for about 2 weeks. I came back home a couple of days later. I learned that what we experienced was an intensity 3 earthquake. I could not imagine how strong the intensity 7 was, but the images on television provided a very clear picture to me. It was heartbreaking to hear the stories of the victims and see collapsed houses and damaged roads. I was worried about my friend and her family in Kumamoto, so my mother sent them an email message to ask how they were doing. They told us over the phone that other than small cracks on their walls, they were fine and didn't have to evacuate. However, they had no gas, electricity, and water. There was no food at the convenience stores, They could not cook rice because they had no water to wash it with. They had to use a bucket of water to flush their toilet. After our conversation, we rushed to the supermarket to buy cases of bottled water and several bags of rice which can be cooked without washing, and sent them to my friend right away. They called us back to thank us and sent us the receipt of the package. After shocks continued for many days, and during the days and weeks that followed, I was constantly watching the news on TV. Many volunteers from different parts of Japan came to help the people of Kumamoto. I was most impressed by the group from the Tohoku area who were also victims of the Great East Japan earthquake in 2011 and the volunteers from areas hit by the Hanshin-Awaji earthquake in 1995. Having lived through a similar disaster, they were aware of the problems and knew what to do about them. The volunteers from those areas were helped by many volunteers, and their way of thanking them was by helping other people in disaster areas. Last year, heavy rains caused severe flooding and landslides in Hiroshima, and volunteers from Kumamoto helped residents there to pump out flood water and remove mud from their houses. It was like receiving a baton in a relay race, but in this case, it was receiving an imaginary help baton and passing it to other people in need. The help baton had been passed from Kumamoto to Hiroshima. I realized that I might not be physically able to volunteer in disaster areas to participate in this help baton. However, I found another baton I could pass. When I went to an open campus at Kumamoto University, I saw simple furniture designed by architecture students. Those pieces of furniture can be used at evacuation centers and are made of materials that can be disposed of easily once they are no longer needed. I hope to become an architect someday, and those students have just passed the design baton to me. I will help by designing other things useful in disaster areas, and I hope I can pass the design baton to the next group of students who will see my designs in the future. Thank you.